The facade of protection, when saviors become killers. The images sear into our minds. A child's shoe, alone in the dust. A father's howl, lost in smoke. Gaza, Iraq, Libya, Afghanistan. These are not abstract conflict zones, they are graveyards of innocence. Humanity betrayed by its supposed guardians. This is the unbearable recurring truth today in 2025. How do they justify such horrors? They use beautiful, hollow words. Humanitarian intervention, they claim. Spreading democracy, they announce. Protecting the vulnerable, they declare. Powerful states, including the United States. They drape their bombs in noble intentions. But the fabric of these claims is woven with lies. What dark realities do these pronouncements conceal? The promises are of safety and liberation. The reality delivered is sheer devastation. Bombs rain on homes, schools, and hospitals. Places of refuge become targets. Sacred grounds of healing are violated. The very social structures are pulverized. This is not an act of protection. It is a calculated, brutal assault on life itself. A betrayal of every principle they preach. The self-proclaimed champions of human rights. They stand before us, their hands stained. Evidence screams from shattered cities. It echoes in the cries of the bereaved. The United States, a global superpower, its weapons, its funding, its diplomatic shield, these often fuel the infernos of suffering. The hypocrisy is a chasm, deep and widening, a moral void at the heart of power. Echoes of liberation, a trail of ruin. Remember Iraq, a war built on shifting sands, launched with justifications now proven false. A liberation that unleashed relentless chaos. Hundreds of thousands of civilians perished. Millions were driven from their homes. Ancient cities were scarred, perhaps forever. Sectarian flames were fanned, still burning fiercely. The promised dawn was a cruel illusion, replaced by an enduring, bloody nightmare. Then, consider Afghanistan's 2 long decades, an intervention sold as a fight for freedom. For what ultimate purpose was it waged? The Taliban have returned to power. The nation is left impoverished, fractured. Countless Afghan civilians were killed, lost in drone strikes, night raids, endless battles. A war they never chose, never desired. Their futures were casually discarded by distant powers, and Libya, another humanitarian crusade, ostensibly to prevent an impending massacre. What calamities followed this intervention? The state itself utterly collapsed. A breeding ground for militias emerged. Slave markets appeared in the 21st century. The country, broken, became a proxy battlefield. Gaddafi's end met with a chilling boast. We came, we saw, he died, paving more paths to death. These are not isolated, unfortunate mistakes. They form a disturbing, consistent pattern. Destruction marketed as righteous salvation. Civilian deaths are coldly termed collateral damage. Cities are obliterated in the name of a greater good. Societies are destabilized for generations to come. The long-term devastation is conveniently ignored, as architects of ruin move to their next mission, their next self-serving, destructive crusade. Gaza, a microcosm of state-sanctioned annihilation. Today, the agony of Gaza is undeniable. It is broadcast, yet often unheeded. A relentless, unfolding catastrophe. As of May 2025, the numbers are horrifying. Over 54,000 Palestinians killed since October 2023. This figure from Gaza's own health authorities climbs daily. Each number represents a unique human life. A story extinguished, a family shattered. The sheer scale of loss is a global shame. Observe the systematic, brutal destruction. Hospitals, once sanctuaries, are bombed. Homes, once havens, are turned to dust. Schools, symbols of hope, are now rubble. Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, the UN. Their reports paint a consistent, grim portrait. Israeli forces control or have laid waste to 77% of Gaza. This is not random. It feels chillingly methodical. A policy of erasure enacted with ruthless efficiency. Humanitarian aid itself has become a weapon. A near-total Israeli blockade, as Al Jazeera reports. Desperate people storm aid centers for scraps. The UN faces impossible hurdles in distribution. 80% of Gaza is an Israeli militarized zone. The aid that does enter is meager, non-nutritious. Professor Tamer Karmout calls it a man-made disaster, a deliberate starvation, a slow, agonizing siege. This is not just neglect, it is an active cruelty. Why do so many call this genocide? Consider the evidence, the mounting calls for scrutiny. 800 British judges and lawyers cite violations. The staggering civilian death toll cannot be ignored. The intentional bombing of essential civilian infrastructure, the collective punishment of an entire population. Statements from some Israeli figures hint at intent, a horrifying effort to render Gaza unlivable. These are not mere accidents of war, they demand answers. The deafening silence. Who will answer for these crimes? The powerful states orchestrating these acts. They often operate with breathtaking impunity. They speak of international law and order, yet their actions betray a deep contempt for it. The United States government, for example. It supplies the weapons that kill. It provides the diplomatic cover that shields. It obstructs accountability in global forums. How can this duplicity persist unchallenged? Who then holds these global powers accountable? International institutions often appear weak, paralyzed by political interests or worse, complicit. The veto power of a few thwarts justice. Economic and strategic gains outweigh human lives. The very systems built to ensure peace. They falter when confronted by their creators. The watchmen themselves are unwatched, unchecked. This is the crisis of our international order. Is our collective silence a form of complicity? When we witness these atrocities unfold daily, when we hear the anguished cries from Gaza, from Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya and beyond, from all the forgotten victims of state power, when we know our own governments may be enabling this, does looking away make us collaborators in these crimes? Does our apathy pave the road for more destruction? These questions must weigh heavily on every conscience. The world is watching, even if through a veil. History is recording its judgment, often harsh. The urgent demand for accountability must rise. It cannot be suppressed by power or propaganda. For the sake of our shared humanity, it must be heard. For the countless dead and the grieving survivors. For future generations who deserve far better. Who protects humanity from its greatest killers? Perhaps it must be humanity itself, awakened, united, and finally, unyieldingly vocal.